Peace and blessings to you all, and welcome back to yet another video. I hope that you have had a good week and that last week's video was helpful in helping you process whatever is going on and whatever is taking place in the world at this time. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I tried pulling cards, and there's not a lot of them that came out, and so I've been intuitively sort of feeling to share more of the messages that I have inside of me as opposed to basing so much on what the cards have to tell us today. I apologize for the noise. The monkeys are out, so the dog is chasing them. Please do excuse me for the inconvenience. So today what I really wanted to talk about was the darkness. And unfortunately, few people want to talk about all the taboos and the things that we don't really like to focus on in society. There are so many things that take place all around us and that we can all see with clarity and without any issues, and yet we turn a blind eye to them because these topics make us uncomfortable. These topics make us squirm because these are things that are all around us, but we don't want to talk about them. And so the first thing that is coming to mind right now is sex. And the fact that sexual immorality is what has pervaded our society. And there was a quote, I forget by whom, I'll be honest, there was a quote I saw by some guy who was basically saying the best way to make an empire fall is to introduce sexual immorality. And it is important that people understand that the world in which we live in, the reality which we have been sold, the reality which we have been taught, the programming that we have been indoctrinated into since we were born, and that goes back several generations, because people have to understand that this warfare that has been fighting for thousands of years, this is a battle between light and darkness, between good and evil. And what many people don't realize is that there is dark energy that has permeated the society for eons. And this can be seen within our mental space, this can be seen in the way people behave, this can be seen throughout society in the way we interact with one another, this can be seen in the way we engage with people who look differently to us, whether that be different cultural background, different economic status, different race, different skin color, different facial features, because we have been taught to disregard and actually reject that which we do not know and which we don't understand. And we have basically been taught to fear that which is different. And it's interesting because from as young as I was a child, I've always been someone who was very just interested in the world and always just interested in learning more, realizing that there was always more than what the eye could see, always just very curious, very inquisitive and wanting to know more. And it would baffle me because I would always think, isn't it interesting that as human beings we all have two eyes and a nose and a mouth and arms and legs, and yet somehow none of us look the same? And so how is it that 8 billion people, of course these are all people of different ages and different backgrounds and all of that, but how is it that as much as we all have the same elements, the same objects, the same bits, how is it that none of us look alike? And so how is it that even when we look at different animals, for example, I mean, let's take dogs, for example. Yeah, there are so many different species of dogs and they all have different temperaments and they all behave differently and so on and so forth. But how is it that we just can't seem, these animals, as much as they're different, they can all just get on with each other. They accept one another. Whereas us as the human race, we've just been, this whole tactic of divide and conquer is what has left us in this state. Because as much as we are all rejecting the system, we are all fighting against, we can all feel that there is something that is not working towards our best interest. And the thing is that for so long we have all turned on each other, and especially here when I look at the African continent, there is such a hatred, it seems, for one another. And I can understand where this comes from because of the indoctrination that has happened to the black man and the black woman, and how essentially, you know, the melanated are at the bottom of the food chain, the proverbial food chain. And as a result, there's just, you know, why is it that the melanated has been held back? And that's what I touch a lot in last week's video. But there is a darkness, and this is what goes and talks about in the Bible. And really, if we look at any of the religions, because all of this war that has been ongoing for thousands of years has been wars on ideologies, wars on beliefs. And when you think about how the lengths to which the powers that were, the powers that are falling, have gone to take our beliefs hostage, you have to question what is so important about our beliefs if people are willing to go so far to change the way we look at the world. And so one of my favorite quotes is, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And this was a quote that was said by Max Planck, who was said to be the grandfather of quantum physics. And quantum physics really is beautiful that science is finally catching up with spirituality, because quantum physics basically just shows that everything is interconnected, that we are all tapping into one greater consciousness. We are all tapping into the same energy. We are all tapping into this magnetic frequency, which is where we're all drawing everything from. This is why they say there is nothing new under the sun, because we have been repeating the same cycles for eons. But the thing is, when we do not know who we are fighting, it's like we're trying to fight in the dark with our eyes closed. And so if we don't know who we are fighting, if we don't know who our enemy is, we don't know how to fight. We don't know how to be. And this is what is beautiful that is happening at this time, is that more people are awakening than ever before. And so people are starting to realize that we have been lied to, and that the pillars of the matrix system, the construct of the supposed societies in which we live, because when we look back as far as history will take us, things have been pretty dark, things have been pretty grim, things have been pretty, you know, there's just a lot of our history that has been hidden from us, and we don't really understand who we are. And they say that if we don't understand our past, then we will make the same mistakes as we move forward. So I just want to highlight here that the frequencies that I'm using as I go through this video is the frequencies to remove bad energies and negative energies from within you. Because there is a passage in the Bible that says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against darkness and principalities in high places. Because people do not realize that we are not fighting against human evil. We are fighting against the devil. We are fighting against Satan. We are fighting against a darkness that goes beyond human comprehension. And the reason that it goes beyond human comprehension is because right now, human beings are so limited in their abilities to actually perceive what is going on all around them. And what is going on all around them is that everything is deeply spiritual. And so again, everything that we are presented through the news, the media, TV shows, through the education system, through the political system, through the scientific system, the medical system, everything, literally everything that is being presented to us in one way is actually not at all what it seems. Because what people need to understand is that what governs this physical material realm is something that is not physical, that is not physical and therefore not visible to our physical eyes. Remember, everything is spiritual first. And what dominates this 3D physical reality is something in a dimension that we cannot see. And what is happening at this time is that consciousness is rising. People are becoming aware. There is a shift in frequency, there is a shift in energy. And just like when you're listening to a radio, all these radio stations exist at the same time. But unless you tune into a specific radio channel, into that specific, frequency, you're not going to be able to pick up on what that radio channel is telling you. And so that is what is happening now. That there is a new channel that Earth is wanting to tune into. And whether we tune into this channel or not, Earth is going to tune into this channel. So we can either move with Earth and tune into that channel with her, or we can be left behind and essentially fall through some wormhole and end up God knows where. So we are now at a point in time where we don't fully understand what is happening. And yes, the scientists can try and explain it, but we don't actually know the reality of the world that we live in. Think about this for a moment. Within the Vatican, there are miles and miles of tunnels, of bookshelves, of information that has been kept under lock and key by the Vatican for thousands of years. And now you have to think about it, interestingly enough, that as much as there are, billions of people that are living on this planet, and there are many different religions that exist on this planet, but somehow the Western world has been in control. And the Western world has been in control since way back when. Because even during the time of Jesus Christ, and now I'm really not a religious person, but these spiritual scriptures play a major part in what is happening at this time. And people need to understand that we are literally living through biblical times. And as much as I've had some religious education when I was younger, and I used to go to church, but I never went through any kind of confirmation or communion or any of that, I've always kind of, connected with the energy of Jesus Christ. And interestingly enough, it was a few years back when I did an ayahuasca ceremony that I connected very deeply with the energy of Christ consciousness. And we have to realize that, it doesn't really matter if Jesus Christ was a real person, though I do believe that he walked this earth. But again, what we need to remember that everything is about frequency and energy. And when we tune into the energy or the frequency of Christ consciousness, because what Jesus Christ came onto this earth to teach was about love and kindness and forgiveness and morality and doing good and being connected to others and being connected to nature. But unfortunately, over the thousands of years that we have gone, there has been infiltration throughout society, especially within the church, and especially within, I want to call it the religious industrial complex, because that is really what it has become. It has become another money-making machine. And when you really look into, I really have to say this point blankly, because so many people at this point know about all the sexual immorality that has happened within the Vatican and the Catholic Church. People have known about this for years. But how is it that people continue to forgive? People continue to forget. People continue to actually worship the system, knowing that these supposed preachers or fathers or whatever they want to call themselves are going around and doing immoral and totally unpure things with the purest of spirits, children. And we who walk upon this earth at this time, we were sent here by God, by the one true creator, whoever you want to call it, however you want to refer to it, but the one true most high creator is the one who sent us here on a mission. And we were all sent here as protectors of the earth, as protectors of the creators of God, protectors of the most innocent of spirits, the animals, nature, and children. And when we look at the entire system and on what it is built, we see that it is created to destroy nature, traumatize children, and just create absolute chaos for the animals by no longer giving them a safe place to live. Because we have been taught to think that animals don't have feelings. They're less than humans. They can't possibly feel anything. So we can treat them like shit and we can kill them in the masses to eat them. And what most people don't realize is that by consuming animals, you are consuming dead flesh. In the church, they talk about drinking of the blood and eating of the body. Is that not cannibalism? But yet somehow people cannot seem to think logically and rationally that if they are drinking of somebody's blood and eating of somebody's body, that they are not a cannibal. In what world are you living? In what delusion are you living? If you're going to tell yourself that drinking somebody's blood And eating somebody's body does not make you a cannibal. And again, what most people don't realize is that magic, dark magic, is being used in the highest places. The food system, food magic, blood magic are some of the most powerful magics of all. And so people don't realize, but by the foods that they are eating, by the things that they are consuming, remember they would say, let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. But when we look at the food system and how, again, things have been so perverted, and you will be surprised to know that in some situations when they are doing rituals, dark magic rituals, bodies are sacrificed, organs are sold, bones are crushed, and those bones are put in the food that we eat. So not realizing that by eating some of that food, we are engaging in dark magic rituals, and our spirit is being bound by those spells. And people need to realize that spiritual warfare is here, and it is only going to get darker. And when I tell you that the whole earth is changing into another frequency, that the whole earth understands, or should I say overstands and understands, that if she does not move away from this darkness, she will become consumed by this darkness. And again, people forget that the only change, the only constant in this world is change. And the sooner you become comfortable with the fact that you as a soul, you as a human being, you came here to experience change, transformation, and growth. And so if you are not experiencing those things, I'm about to tell you right now, real clearly, that Mother Earth is about to leave you behind. Because if you are not willing to tune into this next channel, this next frequency with the earth, you will become consumed by the darkness. And of course, what people need to realize is that within this darkness cannot be seen in the physical, because this darkness exists in another dimension. But this darkness is spilling into our 3D reality. And the way that it is spilling into this 3D reality is through each and every human being that walks this planet. Because essentially each and every human being that walks this planet becomes an altar for either the powers and the energies of good or the powers and the energies of evil. And every single thing that you are interacting with, every single person you are interacting with, the job that you hold, the food that you eat, the content you consume, the people you talk to, the things you believe, the things you entertain, the way you interact with people who you perceive as less than, all of these things are altars for either darkness or light to enter into this realm. And let me tell you right now that these spirits, these entities that are of lower nature and that are of darkness and that do not have the consciousness and the vibration to be in a physical body, right now what is happening is that these beings, these spirits, these entities, these parasites, because darkness exists in many different forms. And these different entities, beings, parasites, whatever you want to call them, they are looking for hosts. They are looking for bodies. And I can tell you right now that the majority of human beings at this time, if you are not doing everything in your capacity to cleanse yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, but most important, spiritually, I can tell you that you will be taken over. And I can tell you this even more so, is that even if you are a being of cleansed, of clarity, cleansedness, whatever, of light, it is now more important than ever to practice serious spiritual protection. Because even the beings, and especially the light warriors, the warriors of God, because even within the Bible it says that during the end times, the beings who really keep God in their heart, those beings will suffer the most, because the darkness will try to enter them and they will see the darkness all around them. And when I can tell you that people are being possessed at a seriously alarming rate. You can look this up. This is happening across the world. Even the Vatican brought out a statement saying that there are more exorcisms that are happening at this time, that they are getting more requests for exorcisms at this time. But let me tell you what is also crazy, that the church, in many places, the church, because the Vatican and the church were infiltrated years ago. If you go back, I recently was watching a documentary on popes, on the popes stemming back to like the 1400s. It's interesting because the papacy and the witch trials are very, very much connected. Interestingly enough, when the Bible was rewritten by, I think it's the King James Bible that was rewritten by King James, who it turns out was a demon worshipper and a Satanist. And he is the one who rewrote the Bible so that this Bible could be rewritten in a way that would allow dark spirits to continue to pervade this earth. And few pastors, few spiritual teachers have been fully educated about the dark spirits. It's crazy to think how few of these spiritual teachers actually know how to banish dark spirits from within people. And the reason I felt the need to share this information with you guys today is because, as I told you last week, my dog was attacked and my dog died. And I knew straight away that this was a dark attack. Only to find out after prayers and fasting and a lot of meditation, to find out that there was a dark attack on someone very close to us, and that our beloved dog Tamu, she gave her life to protect this guy, because this was the guy, he was the one who was supposed to die by that dog's attack. He was the one who was supposed to end, whose life was supposed to be ended. And this dog, our beloved dog Tamu, she gave her life. And what most people don't realize is that at this time, what is giving us the most powerful spiritual protection from dark forces are the animals and nature. And so if you surround yourself with animals and you treat them with love and compassion, if you surround yourself with children and you give them love and compassion, if you nurture nature by giving her love and compassion, you will be protected. Because a lot of the times animals will give their lives for us, because the animals are also being taunted by these dark black magic rituals that are happening across the globe. Movies, series, concerts, songs, everything that essentially has the ability to be in a space to influence many, many people today are entities of the dark forces. Some of them are of the light, but the majority of them belong to the dark army. And so you have to start understanding that if you do not understand what is governing the things that you are interacting with, then you are directly playing into the dark forces. And you, my friend, are a soldier of the dark army, and you just don't even know it. And so it is so important that people get clean, eat clean, know what you are eating. Practice cleanliness in the people that you interact with. Minimize toxicity in your life through the forms of all the things that you are interacting with. Get away from toxic people. It is crazy how on the African continent, the most amount of things that keep people in these veils of illusion is family. I was born into a seriously narcissistic family. I was born into a dark family on my father's side especially. And I was kept away from the light of my mother's lineage. I was kept away from my African heritage. And I was born into a very dark bloodline. To think that my father's bloodline, essentially, they made money. They were from a very aristocratic family. And they made money through the slave trade. They made money through slavery in the Congo. And so my bloodline had a lot to cleanse. And so we have to be aware of even what our families, our ancestors were connected into. Because just because we are born into a family does not mean that we have to stay with that family. This is what the Bible teaches us. And yes, we must protect our family and we must protect those that we love. But remembering that family is not only the family that you were born into, but the family that you create spiritually. That is the most powerful family of all. And God, the universe, does not want you to stay in a family that treats you like shit. A family that will tear you down over and over and over and over again. If somebody is not respecting you, even if you have the same blood as them, you do not need to stay connected to this family. I can tell you that I found true freedom when both of my parents died. And I know that that sounds absolutely crazy to say, but that is just the crazy fucking family that I was born into. And walking away from all of them was the most peace that I have ever received. And that is when my spiritual journey truly began to flourish. That is when I truly began to understand who I am and why I am here. That is when I truly started to understand my spirit and my nature and my purpose and my path. And so many people feel lost and disconnected because they do not understand who they are, they do not know why they are here, and they do not have a direction in life. Let me tell you, all of our directions at this time are spiritual. And the sooner that you understand and that you tune into the calling of your soul and the calling of your heart, the sooner you will feel at peace. And when you are vibrating from a frequency of love and peace and forgiveness, and you just disconnect and detach from all these material things that are so irrelevant, because really this entire system is built on what? On consumerism. And consumerism of things that do not benefit us in any way. The whole system, people keep wondering, how is the system going to fall? Yes, protests are good. Yes, it is important for our voices to be heard. Yes, it is important for us to say we will no longer abide by the system. And yes, it is good to say these things, but we must enforce these things in our actions. We must no longer comply. Because with everything that is happening, at the end of the day, the system needs each and every one of us to become soldiers of the dark army. But if each and every one simply said, no, I will not comply. You know, it is crazy how people will say, oh yeah, I was following orders. No, there's nothing like that. The only orders that you are supposed to follow and that you are here to receive are the orders of God, are the orders of the Most High Creator. Orders that come outside of that are totally irrelevant. Because right now, whilst we are in Kenya, we are seeing all these bodies suddenly appearing after we were lied to about the situation that went down in Githurai and Roysambu and all of these places. And now suddenly that we are seeing that we were lied to, we have to understand that the people in power, the people in the highest places of power, these peoples are puppets to dark forces and dark entities. And people need to wake up to the reality of the darkness that is surrounding us. Because if you refuse to wake up to it, and if you want to continue going on and saying, oh, it's just business as usual, I'm just going to pretend none of this matters because it's not affecting me, then let me tell you right now, you are an agent of the dark army. And it is important that you start waking up to the reality and all these things that people, how many times have people told me, no, you can't talk about the darkness. You can't talk about these things. Let me tell you, the reason they don't want us talking about these dark things, the reason all these things are made to look dark and scary, it's so that we don't look there. Because this is where the answers lie. This is when we understand that the way that power is being drawn for these dark entities to continue to exist on this planet and continue to control the entire civilization and the entire race that is human. We have to understand that it is because dark magic is being used. Blood rituals are being used. Did you know that when every child is born, there is a prick that happens to the heel? And the blood that is drawn from that heel is put on a piece of paper, and that is what gives us our straw man, because we are not operating based on the land, the law of the land, but on maritime law. And so every human being, according to this matrix system, this Luciferian system, is just something, is basically just like a piece of gold that they can do whatever with. We're just another form of currency for them to do what they will. And so even from the moment we're born, our blood is taken so that we are banished and locked into this system. And people need to start realizing that it is in the darkness where the secrets lie. But right now, when we look at Hollywood and when we look at all these demonic and satanic symbols and things that are being pushed on the younger generation, and people will say, no, this is art. This is just another form of self-expression. When these artists are blatantly mocking God, are blatantly mocking Jesus Christ, blatantly mocking spiritual things and spiritual teachings and morality, all this LGB, whatever, all this trans thing, transgender, transhumanism, these are all other ways in which the human body can continue to be perverted and lessened in its vibrational frequency, so that more entities and frequencies and parasites and things can continue to infect you and to use you as their host. Because how is it that we can know full well that something is killing us and we'll do it anyways? Why is alcohol called spirits? Because spirits enter you when you drink. When you consume all kinds of substances, you, the sovereign being of your church, of your altar, you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to take a break from this place right now, and I'm just going to let some other entity control this vessel. I'm just going to let something else come in and navigate my ship. Most people are not navigating their ship of their own free will and volition. So you need to start asking yourself, what do you need to do to go and cleanse yourself of the darkness that is making you unknowingly an agent of the dark forces, an agent of the dark army? And people can hide and say, yeah, following orders. If I don't follow orders, I'll lose my job. I won't have money. Let me tell you something right now. When you have faith, because this is what Jesus Christ, Yeshua, taught us. If there's one thing, at least for me, the one thing that I fully have taken as to what Yeshua the Messiah was teaching was have faith. When you have faith in the Most High, when you have unwavering faith in the light, power, protection, love, compassion, all of those things from the Most High Creator, you no longer need to seek them out in the physical realm, because you know that you will always be protected. And this is what we seek in our mothers and fathers. And unfortunately, most of our mothers and fathers were also taken over by dark forces, because remember, this war has been going on for millennia. When they talked about, the Garden of Eden story and the fall of Adam and Eve, this is what they were talking about, the fall of man into darkness. But if we don't question where the darkness is inside of us, we don't see it. And we choose to operate from a place of false light, false teachings, false beliefs. And of course, if you're navigating on false everything, eventually it's going to catch up with you. Eventually, you're going to have to stop and realize I'm going in the wrong direction. And that is what is happening now. The Most High is trying to communicate to us that we have been going in the wrong direction. But the Bible says there is salvation for those who walk in the light, who follow the teachings of the Most High. And as long as you have faith, as long as you follow the teachings of the Most High, and you follow the light always, I can tell you this, You will always be protected. I have found myself in very difficult situations. I have found myself, it's not something that I'm prepared to talk about just yet, but I experienced some of the darkest things in my childhood. But the only reason that I am here and I am standing today, because I can tell you this right here, for almost all of my life, I just wanted to die. I just wanted to die, even to the extent of self-mutilating because the pain was so great. And I just knew that I could not leave this realm because I could never leave my sister. I could never leave her to face this madness and this darkness all alone. Because right now, more than ever, we need community. There is strength in numbers. And I can tell you this after experiencing multiple dark attacks in the past few days, including a very, very close friend of mine, a brother who's been completely possessed by a dark spirit. And I talk about possession, but I can tell you that now I have seen it, full possession, with my own eyes. And I can tell you that spiritual protection right now is the only thing that can keep us safe. It is the only thing that will get us through this darkness, because yes, it is always darkest before the dawn. And we have to understand, we have to overstand, we have to innerstand that if you are not starting to understand, overstand, that life is spiritual and that this battle is truly a battle between darkness and light. But where do you stand? Because I can tell you this, I always like to talk about, I like to use the analogy of the leaky bath. And like a leaky, so the image comes to me as like an old, quite an old bath, kind of like a standing bath standing there somewhere in nature. And this bath is full of water. And we fill up this bath to the rim so that we can see even the tiniest, 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 tiniest of cracks. Your water is going to start leaking. And wherever there are cracks in that bathtub, water will exit. But as water is exiting, it means that something else can enter. So at this point in time, we are all being asked to fill ourselves with water so that we may see where there are holes in our bath, so that we can stop things from entering. And so you have to cleanse at every level of your life. Mentally, what is holding you back? Do you have toxic relationships? Are there relationships that you need to forgive? Are there hardships that you need to forgive? Because right now, one of the easiest ways to plug in all those holes is to forgive. And when I say forgive, it doesn't mean forget and accept and go and be friends with that person and welcome them back into your heart. No, forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness means that you no longer have to carry that heavy, dense, uncomfortable energy within you. You no longer have to carry these things inside of you. You can just let them go. Yes, these things happened, but let them not define you. Because when we carry that darkness begins to define us. That darkness we become that darkness, and it just becomes who we are. But realizing that within the darkness there is also good. Because we need the darkness to be able to see the light. And when we are in a dark cave, if someone just strikes one match, we will be able to see the light. We will be able to see the light from miles away. And so the idea now is find the light within you and build upon that light. Build on the things that give you light, because it is easier to add light than to remove darkness. But as you add light, the darkness will kind of trickle out on its own. But you have to do this. You have to take these physical steps. You have to take the actions, because we are at a point now where this spiritual knowledge has been around for a while. And this information has been available. But it is no longer about just having the information. It is about embodying the information, acting on the information, actually being somebody who embodies these teachings of light, and at all levels, because you can practice this in everything that you do. Because remember, every single action, every single thought is having an influence on whether you are an agent of light or an agent of the dark army. So you need to start waking up and becoming aware of where the darkness is inside of you, and realizing that everything that is not going well in your life is because there is darkness inside of you that is stopping you from doing this. And I can tell you that when you decide to make the commitment to remove the darkness from within you and to remove the darkness from all outside of you, I can tell you, you need to have commitment. It is not an easy journey, and there will be challenges. But I can tell you that when you go down this journey, I can promise you that it is worth it. And it is hard to it is hard to imagine that when you are in a place of darkness. But the more you commit to staying on the side of the light, staying on the side of the divine nature that exists within you, because that nature is deep within you. It is just that you have forgotten. It is about remembering. It is about, remembering, bringing back those parts of you that you have forgotten, because you already know all of this. Everything that I am saying, you already know. I am just here to remind you that you know what you need to do. And all those voices that are inside of you that are saying, you can't, you can't, you can't, it's too hard. I promise you, you can. I have overcome several addictions, and it was not easy. I have overcome many things. I have totally transformed who I am, because it is possible when you want it. And by the grace of the Most High, when you choose to follow that light, you will always have help. When I look back on my life, it is a miracle that I am here standing today. It is truly a miracle. And I see that because the Most High always sent everything that I needed at the right time, whether it came in the form of new information, in the form of people, in the form of opportunities, in the form of so many different things, new thoughts, new ideas, new emotions, new gifts within myself, new understandings or understandings about myself. And so these answers, they come in many different ways, but you have to be willing to be open to the messages of the Most High. And even when things get hard, push through, because nothing comes easy. It doesn't have to be a struggle. And this is why when we surrender and we have faith in the Most High, we realize we don't have to do it alone. And one of the teachings of Jesus Christ was and he performed many miracles. And he's not the only one. There was another guy, you can look him up, Simeon Toko. He was some Angolan guy. Also, he was killed multiple times. He came back from the dead. You can look him up. It's a truly miraculous story. But they say that there were many, many reincarnations of Jesus Christ that walked. It's just that we don't talk about them because they're not Caucasian. And right now it's the Caucasian narrative that seems to be at the forefront. So we have to go and educate ourselves. We have to go further. We have to dig deeper. We have to go and push further than what is just at the surface level. Go and do your own research. The information is available. And even when you say, I want to find the information, you will be guided. I see the internet as something deeply spiritual, because when I ask, the algorithm brings me what I need. And so I also believe that these messages that I share here through the algorithm get to the people who are tuned into the same frequency and who need these messages. So go and do your research. Go and fulfill yourself on a spiritual level. Go and open up your heart. Go and ask yourself, where is the darkness pervading your life? And where are you unknowingly being an agent of the dark forces? Because this is how possession takes place. This is how entities inhabit us and take over our free will, because that is what is happening. Most people are not acting out of their free will. This is why the world is such a chaotic and dark place, because dark entities, dark and evil energies have entered into this realm through each and every one of us. And so the more we go and we cleanse, we remove these dark forces, we change our reality. We change ourselves and we change the world in which we live, because we change our interactions, we change the things that we are willing to accept, we change the things that we are willing to believe, we change the way that we are creating our reality, because we are all creating, some of us consciously, some of us unconsciously. But start creating consciously from a place of love, and from a place of love and light, as opposed from darkness. And if you are creating from a place of darkness, create consciously and use that darkness to fuel something beautiful, rather than being stuck in that darkness, thinking that you have to be there always. There is always light around you. Just look for it and you will find it. This I can guarantee you, because even for me, when I was in the darkest places, somehow the light was always there. And that is what helped me to go and to keep moving. And I can tell you that I have been a victim of satanic ritual abuse. And that is something that I will uncover at a later time. Not prepared to talk about it now, but I can tell you that I was used ritualistically in satanic worship. And I came through that because of the Most High, because of God, because of the light and everything that exists within the light. So I would love to hear from you. What are you experiencing? What are you going through? Or just share this message with someone who you feel might benefit from it. And in the interim, I send you so much love. I send you healing energies. I send you powerful light protection. I even send you protection from the dark forces that work alongside me, because sometimes the dark does help, but only when we get to know the dark and we no longer fear it. Because sometimes the answers that we need, they are in the dark. But we mustn't fear the dark, because sometimes the answers that we are seeking can only be found within the dark. But when we are protected by the light, when we are protected by the forces of the Most High, there is nothing that can touch us, even when we journey into the deepest depths of the underworld. So I leave you with that to think about. I send you so much love, I send you so much light, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye for now.